Hey, so it's been a while, and I thought I'd give a quick update on the plants, just to show how they're doing. Let's start with the bottom side. Let me just sit down over here so we can get a closer look without me having to kneel. So over here is, I guess, the pings. They're still kind of dormant. Some of them are flowering. There's rotundifolia is flowering. A bunch of Alhersii. So you can see they have some very long flower stalks for the size of the plant. You know, you don't want to eat your pollinators. And there's from three different people. This one is Victoria. This one is from that province in Mexico. I can't pronounce its name. And then this one is from Hidalgo, which I guess is the same place, but maybe one is the city, one is the province. But yeah, you can see they all have different little phenotypes. Like this one is more pink, and this one's more purple, right? And then once the leaves start sprouting, the carnivorous leaves instead of the dormant leaves, we'll be able to see some more differences. They look real different when I had them growing, but we'll see if they are still different this year when they start growing in the same growing conditions. Maybe it was just different growing conditions that caused them to look different. So we'll see. On the back right there are some taquitos. They're also starting to grow some flower stalks. And then here are some Mirandas, I think. It's either Miranda or Morianensis. But they're all kind of dormant, so not too exciting. One of them has a flower. This one is a Miranda. Little white flower on this Miranda. So yeah. Still kind of dormant. Have to wait a bit. Here's all the Cephs. Cephs are also kind of dormant still. I don't see much new growth on them. But yeah, this is the one with the double pitcher. I think it's still on here somewhere. Oh, it's on this side. The one with the double pitcher. Double pitcher is still there. Yeah, these are just Hummers, giant cuttings. This one is the Charles Brewer Red. It's looking a bit rough because I shed a few pictures, and it's still shedding some pictures from last year. These are old. But it has some new growth points down here. You can see there's a few growth points if I could get the focus right. So that's pretty good. But I don't know, sometimes my Cephs do this where like the main growth point just stops growing. Like for example this one, the main growth point, it just stops growing. Where's the new growth? It still looks green on this one too. This one's looking kind of brown. And it's, I've had it happen a few times where the main growth point would just stop and then it'll just sprout a whole bunch of new growth points around it. But maybe it's humidity, maybe it's just suffering, I'm not too sure. This one is a Queen Mary. Queen Mary, not too much new growth. There's a few pictures that sprouted up during winter, so now it's kind of like a cluster, but don't see any new pictures right now, so probably still dormant. This one is the Eden Black. Eden Black is doing okay. This one is a new picture, the one behind it probably too, but not too much new growth also, I guess. Still kind of dormant. So yeah, looking pretty black, I guess. The newer pictures haven't had too much of a chance to get their lids real dark, because I guess maybe because of the reduced photo period. It's at 8 to 10 hours when I had it in winter, so I only recently bumped it up. So yeah, hopefully you get some new growth once the longer photo period starts kicking in. This one is Bubble Giant, still kind of juvenile. This one is a black purple or something with black lids, but you could see something went wrong with this one where it just became like a mass of growth points. Maybe something involving the tissue culture hormones or something kind of messed it up a bit. So it became this like cluster of just growth points with mutated leaves. And now it's finally getting some normal juvenile pictures up there. So I'm not too worried about it because it's still green. Eventually the hormones will wear off. But yeah, hopefully it gets some normal pictures soon. This one is a squat, doing okay. It was in rescue mode a few months ago, but now I see a whole bunch of juvenile pictures, so I guess it's still doing okay. It's alive still. To the left here, this one is German Giant, and this one is Big Boy. So German Giant is, I think it's supposed to be less dark than normal. So you could see, yeah, it is kind of brownish instead of like black. Whereas Big Boy is quite dark. Those pictures are pretty dark, but not too much new growth still. So probably have to wait until later in the summer before they get some new leaves. Back here is my Hummer's Giant mother plant, where I got all these divisions from. So yeah, everything is still kind of dormant, I guess, so not too much new growth. But we'll see how they do over the summer. This is just a tray of seedlings, and there's some pygmy sundews. Try my luck at a few of them. Some of them did okay. I think this one is Micrantha, but some of them didn't do too well. This one is Pochella, which is kind of weird because Pochella grow in the same conditions as Cephalotus, right? But yeah, Pochella the Gemme or Gemme, however you pronounce it, just didn't sprout. Back there is Omissa. Omissa didn't do too well too. I think there's only 3 little ones that are kind of like about to croak. So the only ones that did well is Micrantha and whichever one this one is. This one is Sargenti and Micrantha. Yeah, this one's Micrantha. Yeah, those 2 did okay. The rest, not so good. Which one is this? Rosiana also doing okay, I guess, back there. I have a Byblis. I'm not too experienced with Byblis, and this Byblis is dying. It's like all dried up and dead. I don't know why. It was doing really, really well over winter, but now that it's getting a bit warmer, suddenly it started to die, and it's all dried now. So it was starting to flower too. Like I see the flower buds, but they never sprouted. So I'm not experienced with Byblis, so I don't know anything about it. If you know how to take care of it, please let me know what I did wrong here. Maybe the pot's too small. I don't know. I just never repotted it. A few seedlings, not too exciting. Drosera seed never sprouted. I'll keep them in the pot still. You never know. But yeah, this one's doing pretty good. This is Roridula gorgianensis. I cannot pronounce these names. Gorgianensis, whatever. But Roridula doing pretty good. It came really small, and now it's much bigger. So yeah, the Roridula did okay, but the Byblis did not. They came from the same seller. So yeah, I don't know. This thing is very sticky also. It's like I heard it's like resin. Anyways, over here are some Venus flytraps. This one is from Flytrap Store of the Phalanx. And I'm just testing to see how they do under the LED lights instead of on my windowsill. Because on my windowsill, late into the summer, once the trees start hitting their leaves, it starts blocking out the light. And then my flytraps don't get enough light. So hopefully the LED lights make them do better. I want to see some red coloring right now. Recently just put them down here, so I don't know how they'll color up yet. Back here, this one's a pygmy Venus flytrap. These are all still in dormancy, so they're all looking kind of rough. Yeah, the pygmy one. I had another pygmy one that, like, when it grew, it kind of grew to the size of a normal Venus flytrap. So I was like, maybe that's not a pygmy. But this one looks like a true pygmy. Look, it even has a little flower. And it's just still tiny, so hopefully it stays small. Back here is just my experimental 3D printed pots. I started using them. I seem to be doing fine. I'll probably 3D print a few more. Just use them for seedlings and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it down here. So still kind of dormant and a bunch of seedlings, so nothing too exciting. Let's move up top. Start with the left side. Yes, let's go around. Well, we'll start with this one. And see, it's I left a Ceph up inside the terrarium just to see how it will do without any dormancy. It looks like it's doing much better. You know, look at all the new pictures and stuff it has on. It's one new picture over there, another one over here, and these are also new. So it has a bunch of new pictures, a bunch of new growth. So it actually looks better than the ones below. So maybe it will collapse during the summer since it missed its dormancy. But so far it's doing pretty good, so I'll keep an eye on it. And I'll probably move one from down below up here just to see if it's a humidity that's causing the growth to be stunted outside. Over here are a few pots of different colored sphagnum moss. I just divided them up. You see have some red ones, some orange ones. This one is kind of like orange is red. It's definitely different than the other two. So I just split it out. And yeah, I'm just trying to get some more different sphagnums growing. There's some cuttings of some Heliamphora. I think these are all Heliamphora Pochella cuttings. Back there, there's a Shajandra. It's doing pretty good. It's very dewy. Has a little fly on it. I dropped it off when I caught one in his house. So I want to get a whole tray of them, but I guess it's going to take a while for me to propagate some more off of this. And then just some Adelaide pieces. These are Adelaide giant varieties. Although it kind of split itself up into multiple plantlets. I'm going to have to divide it up soon. These are some typical ones. They're kind of flowering, even though they're kind of small. So they seem to be doing happy. They seem to be happy with their current conditions. so I won't bother them too much. These two are Adelaide Giants. I think last time I showed them off, they looked kind of sad. And then after the video, maybe a week after, they were just completely dead. They were just completely brown, and I couldn't see any sign of life on at all. So I just kind of left them. And then actually a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, I saw a little bit of growth coming from them. So, and then they kind of came back alive. So yeah, just goes to show you, you never know. Sometimes they just come back alive. There's some Nepenthes seeds I was trying to grow, but I think these are supposedly sterile, from what I heard. So I probably won't get anything from them. This is my mother plant for my Adelaide, which all the little cuttings come from. I guess some roots kind of grow out from the bottom, and whenever they see the light, they sprout into a new plantlet. And I just cut them off and I put them in another pot. It has a bunch of flowers on it, but I probably just cut these flowers off because you can't really get seeds from them unless you have two genetically distinct Adelaides. They don't really self-pollinate. And I think it's making the leaves smaller because it's draining some of its energy. Back here are some Heliamphora. We can go through a few of them. So this one is a Sarracenoides, which has gotten a few nice new pictures on it. Try to get the focus right. I'm not sure if I could get it to focus on this guy. But Sarracenoides has a bunch of nectar glands. You can see inside there. Trying to get the focus right though. See these nectar glands in there? The big black dots, if you can see, are like glands that they use to make nectar. So Sarracenoides is known for their larger nectar glands. So yeah, I mean, you can see a few beads of dew. I'm not sure if you can actually see the little nectar glands in there. But also it's known for, you know, the lack of the nectar spoon. And yeah, I mean, it's doing pretty good. Bunch of new growth points, bunch of new pictures. Actually, let me move it to the side here while I show off the next one. This one is a Heterodoxa. So Heterodoxa, last time I think I showed it off, it had the one kind of mature picture forming, and that's that mutated looking one back there. It never fully opened up, and it kind of became all wonky, so it's kind of a failure. But then the next few pictures that subsequently opened have gotten bigger and bigger, so I'm pretty happy with that. And you can see this new one that is still forming. It still hasn't opened yet. It has look at all this picture fluid inside. If I shake it around, you can kind of see the water in there. So it's pretty cool. You know, it's surprising actually. I thought Heliamphora just used rainwater to fill its pitchers, but apparently this one also like fills it itself up, just like the Nepenthes do, before it opens up. And then behind there, just a bunch more Heliamphora seedlings, or not seedlings, but juveniles. So nothing too exciting. A random Venus flytrap has popped up in there. I don't know if it came from seed or just little bits of leaves or something. As I was cutting the sphagnum up, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, and just a free plant, I guess. I'll take that. Here's some Cephalotus tissue culture plantlets. Nothing too exciting. This one is a Heliamphora minor burgundy black. It's not really black, but it is very, very red, especially compared to a normal Heliamphora minor, which I'll show off later. The pot's kind of big, so it's kind of hard for me to move this guy around with just one hand. But yeah, you can see it's kind of red. Let's move on to this side, the right side of the terrarium. So this one over here is the actual normal Heliamphora minor, so you can see the color difference between, you know, the red one and this less red one. You can see that it had a whole bunch of like mature-ish pictures now, but these pictures have these tiny little nectar spoons, so they're not really that mature. But I finally made one with a well-defined nectar spoon. So that's this one over here. You know, this big one. So I'm pretty happy with that. Right? You can see the other pictures, their nectar spoons are kind of like just a little stud, whereas this one actually has a well-defined nectar spoon, so pretty cool. Beside it is a Newton's, and this one's just kind of new still, so it's still, I guess, adjusting. Over here, this clump is Pochella, so it has a bunch of new growth. This is a juvenile side, like a bunch of new juvenile pictures. That was it was actually turned around like this for a while, so I was wondering if maybe it was lacking light, so I turned it around so the juvenile side will face the light. But yeah, you can see on this side I had a whole bunch of new pictures growing. All these green ones are just newly sprouted pictures. So I had a recent growth spurt of new pictures. I'll keep the juvenile side facing the light for a bit, just to give them some light. And then this is another Pochella. Also has a couple of new pictures. Like all of these guys have had a recent growth spurt, so I'm not too sure if it's because of a recent increase in temperatures, or because of the feeding schedule, like with fertilizers or whatever. But yeah, like all of them, you can see this one's Nepenthes, has a couple of new mature-ish looking pictures. Back there, that is a Cephalotus, has a new big picture. I mean, these are not mature, but they're not juvenile anymore, so it's kind of transitioning between the two. Same for this guy. I think this guy's a Tate, I forget. Back there is what was that one? That one is Hispida. Hispida also opening up a kind of a mature-ish picture. You know, it's at least it's not juvenile anymore. Although up here, Purpurensis is still kind of juvenile, so nothing too exciting there. So yeah, up on this side is Expendiculata. So this one is the smaller Ewok. So Ewok is supposed to be smaller and hairier, just like the Ewoks in Star Wars. Sorry, my voice is kind of dying. But yeah, Ewok, and then this one is a typical one from, which one? It's just a location data one. Aeropan Tipui or something. But yeah, recently it opened up this big picture. Like these two are recent, so I'm pretty happy with that. I just like how the way it looks. It looks like so alien looking, you know, very elegant with its sharp lines and everything. So usually I like the Heliamphora with the nice nectar spoons, but this one, even without his nectar spoon, Expendiculata has just a little nectar bulb. It still looks pretty nice, and even has another growth point, which is where this one came from. So looking pretty good. Pretty excited. Pictures are doing pretty, getting progressively bigger. So yeah, so looking forward to new pictures from that guy. Over here, I was going to toss this one out before this video just to clean up the terrarium a bit, but this one is Newton's, and when I got it, this Newton's was gigantic. Like its root system was huge, it was looking really healthy, but then a few days after, it just completely collapsed, like 100% browned, and its rhizome became all mushy, and I just like said that, okay, this one's a loss. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it died. Maybe because it was shipped during winterish time, like Black Friday. Maybe it froze. I'm not too sure, but so I was going to toss it out, but if you look real close, there's some little bits of new green growth down there. So I just recently noticed that, like when I was going to go make this video, I was about to toss it out. I dug around a bit, and I saw that little bit of growth. So that's very recent. So just like with the Adelaide, you know, that I thought I was completely dead. You never know. Sometimes these guys just come back from the dead, just from a little bit of root or something. I mean, granted, it's going to take several years before it gets any appreciable size, but at least it's still alive. I'd rather it be alive than dead. Over here are just some Nepenthes. Most of these are new. I got them all like Black Friday-ish, so maybe around 4 months ago. Except for this one. This one was the old Sanguine, which I was using to test to see if my growing conditions are good. Sanguine will eventually get pretty big, so I don't know what to do with it if it gets real big. Maybe I have to move it out to the windowsill. You can see it's doing pretty good. New leaf is like gigantic. Like this new leaf is huge. So yeah, all my plants are getting a growth spurt recently. Maybe it's because of like I fed it last month, or maybe because it's getting warmer. I can't really tell. But yeah, the new pictures are big. Like you can see the old pictures, this tiny little one's an old one, and then the new ones are much bigger. I see a bunch of nectar on some of these pictures too. Like look, it's like dripping on off the lid. Off the lid there. That's just all nectar. That's not water. So yeah, looking pretty good. Up here, this one is Barcelona, which is kind of like a fat ventricosa, I guess. Doesn't really have the waist. Has a couple of growth points. I think one of the growth points made this nice looking picture. The other one, the picture got kind of stunted. So I don't know, maybe it kind of got like turned around a bit and it just couldn't adjust itself. So its mouth is kind of like stunted. So I'll probably just fill that one up with fertilizer, because I'm not too afraid of it burning off. And it's inflating a few new ones. So it's pretty good. And then recently, just a few days ago, I saw a new growth point come out. So it's pretty nice also. Over here are some juvenile Nepenthes. I guess I won't go over them too much because they're nothing fun to look at when you're juvenile. And this one is, what was it? I said I wouldn't just go over them, but I guess take a bit of time to look at what it is Burbidae. So it's still juvenile. And this one is Enme. Has some nice pictures on Enme. There's one growing back there too. It's inflating. And then I think there's one back here. So I won't fool around with it too much. This is Rienwartiana. I can't pronounce her name. It's supposed to be a red form. Doing pretty good. Has a the first pictures it came with, or it sprouted, were kind of small. You can see this one. It's kind of dying now, but it was kind of small, and now the pictures are getting bigger. If you look at this one, Trying to get the focus right behind the glass. Couldn't really see it. But yeah, that one is doing pretty good. This one is Izume, still juvenile. I think one of these is probably Vechi or something. I forget. Petiolata or Diatis petiolata, I think. I forget. Without looking at the tags, I cannot tell. Sibuinensis. This one is Jacqueline. So here's a picture. Recent new picture. Jacqueline, this red one. So it's pretty good. Like, you know, when it first came, the pictures were tiny. Tiny little one. But now, you know, its first picture here, it's gotten pretty big. This one is Diatis. Diatis is looking good. Like, you know, the first pictures were tiny, like that little tiny one that's kind of starting to die. Now it's getting nice and big. The Jamban, same thing. Like, look at this little tiny one versus... I mean, it's not that much bigger, but at least it's more well-defined. Some of these, you could see the leaves are getting smaller. Like, they were pretty big when they first came, and now they're kind of small. I think it's probably due to higher amounts of light that they're getting. You're kind of getting sunburned, too, you know? Like... So, I don't know. Maybe it's too much light for them. When they get too much light, the leaves get smaller. But as long as the pictures are still alive, it means it's still okay. If it was suffering in any way, it would shed the pictures first. So yeah, those are most of my plants. I want to try to get Hamata and maybe Aristolochoides, whatever the little bird nest shaped one is called. I forget how to pronounce it. Hamata, which I mentioned. Oh, I want what was it? Not Inzume, Intermis. I really like the wine glass shaped picture, so Intermis is on my to-do list to get, but for some reason they're so pricey here in the US. I remember when I got them in Canada, they weren't that expensive. And people like thought they looked plain, so I guess they were cheaper or something. They're not really colorful. Intermis is just completely green. But yeah, it's kind of pricey. It's way more pricier than Dubia. So I don't know. But yeah, that's the terrarium so far. In terms of hardware, I'm still working on the hardware. Like, you know, this stuff still remain the same. As I said before, if it's a temporary solution, it just remains permanent. So the most permanent solution is a temporary one that just works. So yeah, I haven't updated that. Eventually I will have to. Same for the camera. I'm just working on the software mostly. So I made a lot of changes, but it's all in software, so you can't really see it. And like, you know, software to control the camera, software to take pictures and stuff like that, so you can make time lapses. So I bought a whole bunch of extra ESP32 cams, and I'll probably have to make a little mount so I could mount it on a pot somewhere and just take time lapse screenshots. Oh, my voice is like dying. I've been talking too long. Need to get a drink or something before I do one of these. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So bottom part is set up, top part is doing pretty good. Need to fill it up with a few more plants. It's still looking kind of empty. But yeah, otherwise, thanks for watching and all, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.